Let's see. Well, hello. Welcome back to another coffee conversation. We are so excited to be joining with you guys.
Well,
Again, I have to say that these are my
back to
absolute favorite
another coffee
things to do with the
conversation. We are
community.
so excited
Hold
to be
on.
joining with you guys. Well,
I hate when it does that. Why does it do that?
And now you get the behind the scenes of how this goes. But welcome. Let us know in the chat, in the comments, where you're watching from, what you're drinking. I do have my Reiki Cafe mug again, as we do on Wednesdays. And I know Christine will be getting hers soon. But today is definitely a coffee day for me. I'm feeling a little low and slow today. So definitely drinking coffee. But let us know where you're watching from, what you're drinking. All that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am actually drinking. I already had my coffee this morning, running around this morning, already been to physical therapy, all of the things, and got the kids out the door. So I'm having a lemon balm nettles marshmallow root herbal concoction for today.
Wow. Okay.
Nettles is like shamanic Reiki part of me. Like, this is like my plant ally. Like, if something is like feeling stressful, I'm like, nettles. I need my nettles, please.
I'm all for ashwagandha and lavender are my go-tos for stress.
I don't even know if it's really for stress. It's just like calling on a spirit guide. You know, nettles, I'm like, nettles can take care of everything for me, because that's my plant ally, right? So, and it's very much kind of my personality a little bit, like prickly on the outside. Like, I like to push a little buttons, and yet I'm super nourishing if you get to know me.
That is such an accurate description. I love it.
I do too. I love it. How are you, Lee? I see that you're on. Thanks for joining with us. Let us know where you're watching from in the chat. I see that we have quite a few folks on, so it's good to see you all. Thanks for joining us this morning for this coffee conversation on goals versus manifesting. It took me a second there. I'm like, what are we doing? Oh, yes, we're doing goals versus manifesting. And notice, like, even just the saying that out loud, the difference that energetically it feels. And yet they're two really important things to look at when it comes to moving forward in our lives, whether that's in our business or in our home life or in our just really any area, your health and wellness, like all of the things, right? So this is going to be a really fun and interesting conversation. So glad you are joining with us today.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to dive into this one with everyone. And oh, Lee, you're in the UK. I'm so excited. I'm actually coming up to London at the beginning of May. So looking forward to that. But absolutely. Welcome everyone. If you're just joining, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what you're drinking, and we will start diving in. So like Christine said, today we are coming to you with this wonderful conversation on the difference between goals versus manifesting, and when it's important to use one or the other in your personal life and in your practice. So Christine, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'm happy to. So when I think about goals, it's more like the tangible markers of when I know I've accomplished something, right? So when we set goals, it's very much like the number, the how, like, if, and so oftentimes we have really intangible goals, like, I want to feel peace in my heart, you know, all of the time. I want to be in that state of joy. So when it's intangible, how can you go from 0 to 10, if 0 is like, I don't feel that at all, and 10 is like, I'm fully consumed by this emotion, where are you at? So you could make the intangible tangible. And then you can put like, okay, I want to feel that. I want to be an 8 or higher 5 out of 7 days. Like, look, this is how we kind of move into how do we take goals to kind of know if we've hit the mark. If we've hit the marks to saying, yes, I've accomplished that, and now I can set a new goal to move forward, right? So goals tend to have more of a tangible, like concrete 3D reality work. Whereas when we're manifesting, we are using envisioning, we are being in the emotional state of having it now. And then the goals help us to bring that manifestation forward. So that's just like my quick, like little overview. What do you want to add to that, Izzy? What are the things that you look for when you're like seeing those two as separate?
Yes. And I love this because right off the bat, even just from your description, we're probably going to have some listeners who are thinking that's a really different way of looking at goals, right? Because I think right now in our society, in the way that we are set up to live, we are very much achievement and success oriented. And so a lot of us can probably remember being younger and that feeling of if you get straight A's on your report card, then you'll get this thing, right? And so it's from a very young age, we're taught that goals are outwardly focused in a way. They're not really intrinsically motivated. We're not sitting here thinking, I want to get straight A's because I want to get straight A's. We're thinking, I want to get straight A's because then I'll get to do this thing, or I'll get to have this reward, or my parents will be happy with me, or whatever that story becomes. And so that focus of a goal turns from making yourself happier or more confident or feeling more aligned in your life or whatever an intrinsic motivation might be, it starts instead to become this thing where we're looking outside of ourselves for the motivation to achieve this goal. And so that's really where this very first switch, right off the bat that we're going to bring to you guys is, especially if you have that kind of type A personality, if you've grown up in a very goal-oriented, Christine and I are both in that boat. If you've grown up in a very goal-oriented household or even just society in general, chances are you've probably internalized a lot of messages about what it looks like to have goals, what goals are acceptable and good, and what you should prioritize versus ones that are maybe lower and not as worthy or not as acknowledgeable in our society. And so there's this switch that has to happen right off the bat in order for this conversation to really make sense of when we talk about goals, when we're talking about setting that 0 to 10, making the intangible tangible, we're not talking about get straight A's so you can have this thing. We're talking about what is it that you want to achieve in life for your own personal benefit, evolution, confidence, happiness, peace, joy, whatever resonates for you most there. But for your own personal journey and edification, what is it that you want to achieve? And how can we bring that into a tangible level so you'll know when you've achieved it? There's no pressure here, I think, is the difference. When we look at goals from a spiritual lens, there's no pressure to achieve this thing. There's no one standing over your shoulder checking your work. There's no one saying that you're only going to be worthwhile if you've done this thing, because you already are worthy. You already are enough simply by being here. And so the joy of setting goals through this lens is that it's like a game. It becomes a game. It becomes this chance for you to expand and evolve in ways that maybe you had or hadn't imagined before. And so it gives you this open door to move into the next phase of your healing or of your awareness or whatever it is, without that pressure of get straight A's or else.
Right. Okay. So I just have to say, I love doing these coffee conversations with Izzy because I'll throw something out there and it's like, fairly small and knit together. And she's like, boom, like, let's take the big picture. Like, let's look at all of this. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Because, I think, and Izzy and I both can relate to this, that very much being in that type A personality. I was your serious type A personality growing up. By the time I graduated from high school, like nearly straight A's, staying up half the night, worrying about tests, overstudying, all of the things. I went to a midwifery school and I was still in my type A personality, and they would kick me out of the classroom. They would be like, you need to go do an energy check. Your energy is stressing everyone else out and you need to leave, check yourself, come down, ground, and then come back in. And I was like, oh, I'm so grateful for that experience of having someone energetically go, you're emitting energy that's affecting other people. It was like my first energy 101 training. And with that, I could then get into a place of going, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? I've been trained that to get approval from the outside society, I have to have straight A's. And then you come into this very spiritual minded community and they were like, I don't care what your grade is. You need to understand the wisdom and knowledge of what we're teaching here. And so I don't care what the grade is. We're not looking for straight A's. We're looking for you to be mindful because it's going to help you in your practice later on. Right.
Yes.
And so it's like, that's it. So there's like the human experience of like switching from goal oriented for external validation to coming inward and saying, my goals can be different because I'm doing this for me.
Right. And this is something that's so very near and dear to my heart, because many of you may or may not know that I recently transitioned out of school for nursing and psychology, and both of those fields are very much goal oriented. And I think it's such a shift when you step into this spiritual space, when you step into this space of acceptance and of self-motivation, instead of worrying about what does everybody else expect of me and can I make their goals for me my own goals for me, because they don't have to be. And I think that is something that is so incredibly important for us to get off our chests right from the start, is that you do not have to set the same goals for yourself that everybody else sets for you. You do not have to set the goals for yourself that society sets for you. You don't even have to set the goals for yourself that you think you should. All that matters is that every step you take, every goal you set, every vision you intend to manifest is something that feels aligned with you in your soul, on that soul level, core level truth of yourself, that it feels like something that is meant for you, that it is for your greatest and highest good. And of course, that brings up so many other questions about, well, how do I know what's for my greatest and highest good? And we'll get to those in a little bit, but it's so important just from the beginning to really hear and understand that you do not have to set any goal for yourself other than the one that feels like it was meant for you in the core of you. So if your parents are telling you that you need this degree, or if your partner is telling you that you need to make X amount of money, these kinds of things that are so common, right? We want to take them into account, right? We don't want to just blow them off and be like, oh, that's ridiculous, and not take into account the fact that we are human beings interacting with other human beings who also have thoughts and feelings and opinions and limiting beliefs and all of the things. But we don't need to internalize those. We can acknowledge them. We can understand that they are there at the end of the day to try and help us, to try and support us in the way that they think is best. And also we can acknowledge that we are the only ones who truly know what is best for ourselves. And so there becomes this tipping point where we can acknowledge, on the one hand, the value of the goals that others set for us. And we can acknowledge that our own goals will supersede those when they truly are for our best and highest good, because we are truly the only ones who can ever know what that is in ourselves.
Yeah. And so I want to drive in the point of society tells us, okay, there's no point of being an entrepreneur unless you're like your goal is to be like a millionaire and have a millionaire lifestyle, or that you need it. The only sign of success is if you have this car or this house or this lifestyle. And I hope that Reiki Kappa University kind of helps inspire people to blow out those external expectations and pressures and go, wait, time out, tune in. What is it that you desire? Like, all of our innate desires, in my opinion, are God-given. And so we're really tuning into, you know what? I would really love to homeschool and make $65,000 on the side and just be comfortable living a $50,000 lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to go live in a van and have a Reiki pop-up thing on the beach? Like, go do that. Like, I think we've got so much materialistic pressure to be productive in society from our institutionalized education system that, you know, we put this thing on this pedestal, and then the whole journey there is a struggle, and it feels bad. And it's like, why am I doing this? And if I don't reach it, then I'm a failure. And so it's like, time out. We need to redefine what success looks like and start looking at what brings me joy and go from that point, right? Because a lot of people have these really lofty goals and it doesn't fit for who they are. It's what society says we think we should do. And I think this, whole American dream has been placed upon us to keep us in the productivity cycle that meets our societal standards, right? And I'm going like, once again, it's like, let's throw out the box. What feels good to you? What feels good to you? And that changes things, that shifts things. Like, for example, for the last 15 years, I've known that I wanted to be a part of a co-housing community. I wanted to live in a space where multi-generational families come together, where we eat together, where we share together, where we meditate together. And I really thought for most of the last 15 years that I was going to have to move to another town to experience that, because we didn't have anything in the state of Montana. And then, so we did our envisioning and manifesting to the point of like drawing out floor plans. My husband is a draftsman, right? And so we really got into that manifesting of, let's envision, let's feel into what our ideal housing, farm life, whatever it would look like. And you know what the really beautiful thing is? We even had like where we would want it to be location wise. That is literally being built right now. Almost exactly how we drew it out for the main building. And it has all the things. It has the goats, the chickens, the gardens, the labyrinth, meditation circle, the creek, the people. And so when we started joining, when we told them our story, we can literally bring up our drafting plans and compare it and going like, we did this 2 years before you bought this property. And so there's a place of going, when we drop societal expectations and go inward and go, what truly is my goal? My goal might be to live inside a co-housing community. The manifesting helps us get there, right? So we feel the feels of what it would be like to have it now. We step into the space of envisioning, feeling into, and then even disassociating so we can see it from above. How is that going to look like? And then taking the action steps in your daily life, using mini goals, baby step goals to get there. How are we going to get the income to actually get a mortgage? Like all of those things, right? And so the two go hand in hand and they can be really powerful to like, we're manifesting, we're envisioning, we have this thing that we want. And how can we break it down into tangible steps?
Yes, absolutely. And before we transition into talking about what does that manifesting side of things really look like, there are two things that I really want to kind of bring into the light around this idea of society and goals and all of this structure that we find ourselves in. Is, on the one hand, that structure exists for a reason, right? There was a reason, there was a time when it served us to have that structure. And so this is where we can keep ourselves from falling into that victim mindset of, oh, look at all of these things that society has given me or my family has given me, or starting to feel a little bit of that like, woe is me for being born into the structures and the thought processes and all of this that we were born into. We can acknowledge it without falling victim to it. And one of the best things anyone ever told me about this, and I've carried it with me my entire life, is they said it may not have been your fault, but it is your responsibility. And what they meant by that was, it's not your fault, quote unquote, that you were born into whatever beliefs or structures that you were given around goals or money mindset or what a good life is or what success is. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility and in your power to decide if you bring those stories and structures forward with you. And so instead of it becoming this energy where we feel stuck, where we feel victimized, where we feel like we are beholden to the rules and structures that we've been born into, it instead becomes this empowering moment where we realize that we have the power, we have the ability to choose differently. Once we have that awareness, once we understand this does not feel good, this feels constricting, this feels small, this feels out of place, then we can know that therefore, it's not meant for me. So what is? We can bring that question, that curiosity of, if this isn't what I want to believe, if this isn't how I want to live, if this isn't how I want to exist, what is? And when we can bring in that curiosity, that's really what opens us up to manifestation. But when we think about where am I feeling small? Where am I feeling stuck? Where am I feeling out of place? That's really going to be your little red flag for this isn't the thing that is meant for you here. And so for all of you listening who are thinking, well, how do I know if it's something that society gave me, or if it's something that I chose, or if it's something that society gave me and I chose, or whatever it might be, it's really asking yourself at the end of the day, do you feel like you belong in that sphere? Do you feel like you can be your best self in that place, in that situation with that person? And if the answer is no, it might be time to reevaluate and start asking yourself that question of, what would I feel most comfortable in? What situation would allow me to be my most expansive self? What kind of person would facilitate me to be that best version of me, even when I'm connecting with them? That kind of curiosity. And so it becomes this 3-step process when we're looking at how do we switch from taking on the goals that have been maybe chosen for us to creating our own. And so first we have to have that awareness of, this maybe wasn't mine. And if it wasn't yours, but it feels good and you take it on anyway, like all my doctors and lawyers and everybody who that's what their parents wanted them to be, and they are loving it, good for you. Like, we are not saying that there's anything wrong with following the goals that others had for you, so long as you feel like your most expansive self and your truest self while you're doing it. And so that's the first question. Is, do I feel like my truest self? Is this resonating for me on that soul level? And if the answer is yes, fantastic. If the answer is no, then we evaluate. Then we say, which part of this feels off? Which part of this feels out of alignment? And what circumstances do I feel small or contracted or out of place? And then we bring in that curiosity of what would feel better? Where would I be able to be my most expansive self? And then we can step into that being the goal. And this is where it gets really exciting, right? Because this is where the manifesting comes in. And what I love about this is it goes both ways. You can find your goal, like Christine did with her co-housing community, and then you can bring in the process of manifesting and thinking about the floor plans and the structure and who's going to be there and what it's going to look like. And then behold, your vision can come into reality because you've been calling it into this physical plane. Or you can feel that energy of what you want life to be like, of what you want to be feeling. And then you can start to set goals for it of what would help me to feel like that, what would help my life to look like that. And this is where I think it is so important to talk about the different kinds of manifesting. And if you're a human design person, you probably are like, oh, I know what you're going to talk about. And if I was a human design person, I would totally talk about that, but I'm not. So I'm going to talk about it from my own personal perspective here. I remember when I first started transitioning from this idea of setting goals and really going with that structure into manifesting, I thought that you had to have, kind of like in Christine's example, I thought you had to have the floor plan in your head in order for it to manifest in your life. And so I spent years feeling so stressed that I was manifesting the wrong way, that because I didn't have that level of clarity, that it wouldn't work, that what I wanted wouldn't show up, that I wasn't aligning myself to that energy properly. And it took me so long to figure out that there are really, at the end of the day, two kinds of manifestors. There is the manifestor who can pull up that image, who can pull up the floor plans, who finds so much joy and alignment and expansion from finding those nitty-gritty details. And then there's the manifestor who finds so much joy and expansion and alignment from just feeling the feeling that they will feel when whatever it is comes into their life. And I am in the second category. I am someone who manifests based on a feeling or based on a very loose picture or based on an idea that I had without knowing the details. And so I want to say from the get-go, as we transition into really looking at how can we manifest our goals and how do goals help us manifest, of understanding that there are two different ways, two different kind of archetypes, if you will. And of course, so many little differences underneath that. But these two of, are you specific or are you general? And knowing that whichever category you fall into, it's okay. And it will still, you will still be able to manifest. You will still be able to align yourself to that vision because there's no one right way to do this. Again, that idea of this is how you manifest or this is how you set your goals, that is just another structure, just another box that we would be putting ourselves into. And our goal here is to step out of the box, is to let those go, is to step beyond the structure and say, look, it's still okay, even if I'm just out here in the wide open and doing what feels to me like the best, most expansive, truest thing that I can be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. And so we get to come to the space of what's my vision? What's my goals? Where am I manifesting from? Because I just keep having one of our past student clients pop up in the back of my head, and her story is really, really relevant. And to the fact that, when students come into Reiki Cafe University for one of our signature programs, we do a SMART goal session, which is basically like, okay, what are your goals? What do you want to walk away from this experience? What do you want to walk away with after you get your certification? What do you want your life to look like? Right. And then we kind of backtrack and go, well, here's your steps to make it there. And so when we come from a space of really this logical mind, that's when those societal expectations or family expectations or whatever come out. And so, if you're like, well, I want to make 6 figures so that I can buy my husband a boat. I want to have 6 figures because that's what I made in my corporate job, and people will value me less if I make less money. It's those really hard, inflexible goals that are so externally based that don't.
I was going to say, notice how those are all external. Like none of them are because it's what I want. It's because it's what I made at my other job or what my husband wants. They're all that external.
Right. And so when you start stripping away those expectations, it became, well, I just want to spend time with my grandchildren. I just want to do this when I feel like it and have fun with it and be in that space. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful goal, to just be with your family as much as possible and love on them and do this as the side thing. There's nothing wrong with that if that's where you are in your life and that's what feels true in your heart. Because guess what happens when the person who's got the goals, like I have to make 6 figures to buy my husband a boat that would make him happy. Then what happens is the whole time you're struggling and fighting and angry at yourself and you really just beat yourself up the whole time because it's not in alignment. It's not actually what's true for going on inside of you. And so this is an opportunity to reevaluate what it is that you're trying to create in your life and just say, I'm free. I'm free to follow my joy. I'm free to follow my heart and not get stuck in the place of worry about judgment of others, worry that it's not going to be enough, worthy of, that cycle of self-shame and self-judgment, because really you're the only one who's picking you apart. And if there's people in your life who's pressuring you, maybe they shouldn't be. just say it. There's my
putting it out there.
Just say it. That's my nettles coming up, right? I'm a little pokey. You have someone in your life that says there's no point of you doing that unless you can make $10K a month. For what purpose? For what purpose? So then we get to go into, okay, when we strip it all away, when we strip away the external goals, when we can feel into our hearts, and that can take process. So just know, there's a lot of limiting beliefs and societal stacked layers there. So that if it takes a while to strip away things, if you need support in doing that, that's what Reiki Cafe is really good at that. We can support you in that process to get to the core identity of who you are. And notice, hello, solar plexus. Who is my solar plexus want me to be? Who's that divine light within that wants to shine? And note, solar plexus with that fire, that illumination, that burning away of what no longer serves me. When we step into that space and go, for what purpose? What is my joy? What is my soul's calling? There's going to be your true, authentic answer. And from that place, you can then create your vision, your manifesting, your goals, and it will actually just be divine guidance leading you every step. Right. So I've been manifesting, so I'm going to Japan. People know this. And one of the things I'm going to do right when I get back is teaching the Reiki Master Teacher Training, but it's going to be a fusion class of Eastern philosophy with Western practices, because I love both. That's why I'm going to Japan, is to really get the Eastern philosophies, the meditations, all of the things. But I'm a Western practitioner. Like, I'm all about mixing modalities, doing Reiki, quote unquote, doing Reiki. And so here I am, just like being in the space of like, yes, the goal, let's have 15 students in that class. That's the goal. And the manifesting then became, I went to the gym last night. I'm like studying my Japanese in my earphones. Like, I'm just like in the presence of like just being okay with where I'm at and like learning and all of the things. I go in the sauna, and guess who comes in? A Reiki level 2 student who doesn't know me, not a follower of mine. And we get to talking. I don't even know how it came up. She's like, I'm a Reiki level 2. And I'm like, fantastic. That's awesome. And so she asked me some questions where things are getting stuck for her in her practice. And I'm giving her advice, and I'm telling her about the things and telling her how I'm going to Japan. And she's like, then I told her about, I'm teaching the Reiki Master Teacher Training. And she's like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like, I didn't really resonate with my first one. She's like, how can I find you? So this is what I'm saying. Like, once we let go of, and you're in the space of like for me personally, my mission and purpose here is to help Reiki practitioners. That is what I do. This is what I love to do. Wherever they're at, that's my mission and purpose in life. And so when I have this random person who has no idea who I am in my own town, it's really funny because most of the Reiki practitioner in town are my students already. And it's just like the universe is just bringing me. It's just ease. It's just being in that state of receiving them. I'm just open to saying yes to the next thing. Right? I wasn't planning on even going in the sauna last night. Turns out I was in there for 20 minutes, had a good sweat, and possibly got a new student. Right? So it's trusting the manifestation process.
Yes. Yes. And I think there's something so important in that, which is this idea of co-creating with the universe. And a friend of mine who I love dearly explains this as playing ping pong with the universe. And I just think that is the best analogy, because she's like, I'll just ping it to the universe and it'll pong it back when it's ready. And it's such a beautiful way about thinking about this, because I think sometimes when we set goals or we have manifestations that we want to bring into reality, it becomes this feeling of sole responsibility. Like, it becomes a burden that we put on ourselves of having to make sure that everything works out perfectly. And it's usually because there's some kind of limiting belief there about, if this manifestation doesn't come to fruition, then I have failed. There's usually some kind of something about being a failure or not worthy or not enough. And so if that's resonating for you, if that feeling of having to make sure that all of the pieces fall into place, or feeling like you are solely responsible for your goals and manifestations, and accepting help from the divine is, heaven knows that I had this one for a while, is like a sign of weakness or of not being able to do the thing that you're supposed to be doing. Dig deeper, because that's not where it ends. There's almost always something deeper beyond that, below that, underneath that, of I'm not enough, I'm a failure. Notice that, because these are the things that are going to put us back in those boxes that we are working so beautifully to get out of. Mm-hmm. But this idea of playing ping pong with the universe is so beautiful, because it reminds us that we're not alone. Like Christine said at the very beginning, our desires, our manifestations, these things that come to us from our soul, from the core of ourselves, are placed there in that part of us that is also the divine. It is that divine within us speaking through our physical form. And so when we can understand that, and when we can understand that our desires are coming to us from the divine, we can understand that we're not alone in bringing them into reality. If they are already existing in the divine, if they are already existing in that soul space beyond our minds and our physical self, and they're coming to us, that means that they're already on an energetic level available. They're already there. They're already waiting for us. We are just that door to bring them into the physical reality. And so it is not our job to decide who, what, when, where, how, why it's going to happen in the physical. It is our job to be that conduit, just like we're conduits when we are in our Reiki practice. We're not forcing the energy to go somewhere. We're not changing the intention. We're not changing how the energy works with our intention of saying this will heal this person's broken toe and voila, it happens. No, we are here to hold space for the energy to come through in the best and highest way. And it's the exact same thing when we're manifesting, is understanding that these visions, these goals, these desires carry with them that divine energy, carry with them that divine intention. And it's not our job to direct it or say that it's going to happen in steps 1, 2, 3. It's our job to just be open to what's next, open to what we are feeling called to allow forward and through us, so that that energy can come into reality. And so it really takes that burden, that stress off of our goals and our manifesting. And I say this to our students all the time of it's an opportunity, not a burden. Don't let yourself take this wonderful idea, this desire, this vision, this goal, whatever it is that you have in your mind's eye, in your soul to be created for you, and let it shackle you. You do not have to be confined by your desires and dreams. They are supposed to free you. They are supposed to feel expansive. They're supposed to allow you to become the fullest version of you, not keep you small and constricted. And so noticing when we start to slip into that resistance, when we start to slip into that feeling of being shackled or stuck or burdened, noticing what's there, what's the limiting belief, what's the fear, and how can we let that go so we can go back to understanding that we are just playing ping pong with the universe. That's it.
Yeah.
And it creates this sense of freedom and ease that will release the resistance and allow that energy to come through so much more clearly and easily and joyfully when we're just open to it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take the ping pong game and I'm going to make it a little bigger. So here you have the universe. The universe has ways it wants to express itself and ideas that want to come through. Right. So if you read the book, Big Magic, this is going to sound familiar. Right. So the universe is like, yes, I have this brilliant idea. Who on the earth plane, in the physical reality, is in a state of perception of receiving this? Who's available to receive this idea? And it can be very much like a sprinkling, like, okay, I'm going to send it out to 10 people. I'm going to send it out to a dozen people. I'm going to send it out to 2 people, depending on what the idea is and who is ready to perceive it and to receive it, as well as take action steps on it. And so the universe has this desire to express itself in a certain way through this idea. And so if you receive divine download, if you receive that divine inspiration, and then the next step is to take the divine action steps. So we have the law of right attraction, a law of right action. And so it's calling you and it's going to set everything up. Here's the next step. Here's the next step. Listen to your intuition, follow the nudges, follow your gut. Right. And so when you are in that full receiving mode, you can feel the ping pongs coming down, right? And so it can be a ping pong back going, yeah, I'm totally available for that. Yeah, I'm totally available for that. Yeah, I'm totally available for that. And it could also be, I'm not available for that.
And that's okay. It's
Right?
okay to say no.
It's okay to say that's too much for me, that I have too much healing work right now to be able to manifest that. And guess what the universe is going to do? It's going to take that ping pong ball and make sure someone else is going to receive it, manifest it into reality. And so it's okay to say no. And it's also okay to say yes. And it's okay to say yes but, and have that co-creation process. And so feeling into that, just really recognize, like, one, are you available to receive the ping pong at all? Oftentimes, if we feel like I have to figure this out on my own, I am a burden. I'm a burden to the universe. I can't ask for help. Like, God's got too much things going on. It's not going to notice me. Like, that whole perception is actually judgment of the self, that I'm not worthy. And so when we can work, and this is why it's so incredibly important to Reiki Cafe University and all of our students to work on their chakras and really do that deeper healing of what limiting beliefs that you were shifted into as a child, that you put on, or you cloaked yourself into for self-protection? When is it okay to take that off? When can you drop the shield? When can you take off the armor and say, I'm available and ready to co-create? It's really hard to hear divine when you got your armor on and you're fully like protected against all things. And so it's going, yeah, sometimes we need armor. We do. Sometimes we're not physically or emotionally safe in our relationships, in our physical environment, and we need to armor up. And then the first primary goal is to get safe emotionally, physically, energetically, so that you can start shedding the armor and saying yes to the next steps the universe has to offer you.
Yeah. And knowing that it's okay if taking that off is a slow process. And this is one of those additions to what Christine said earlier of it's okay to say yes and but. Mm-hmm. It's okay if a manifestation comes in, if an idea comes in that you are aligned to doing, that you feel called to do, and it can't happen all at once. It's okay to tell the universe, yes, I'm here for it, but in baby steps, because this one's going to push me. It's going to help me grow. It's going to help me to shed the things that no longer serve me. And I understand that that's going to be a process. And so it's okay to let yourself take time for this. It's okay if your manifestation does not happen tomorrow. It's okay. It's okay if it takes a year. It's okay if it takes 5
or 15
or 15. It's okay if this is a lifelong process, because here's the thing, healing is a lifetime process. Mm-hmm. Learning is a lifelong process. All of these elements that come together to form the foundation for our goals and our manifestations are things that we are going to be growing and evolving into our entire lives and all of our other lives, if you believe in that as well. And so this is an opportunity to let go of the stress of being chained to a timeline. Mm-hmm. It's okay for it to take as long or as short, as little or as much as it needs to, so that you can truly and fully step into it instead of pulling away in fear or resistance. And so this is really where I want to invite you to pull out a journal. Whether you're doing this as you're listening or you just save this for later, I want you to pull out a journal, and I want you to begin by just taking stock of your life. Maybe make 2 columns in your notebook. On the one, I want you to write down all of the situations, experiences, people that help you to feel expansive, that you love, that you enjoy, that bring you into that state of alignment. And on the other one, on the other side, I want you to write down all of the situations, people, and experiences that are feeling contracting, that are making you feel less than, that feel out of place, that something's not quite right. Even if you don't know what that something is, it doesn't matter. I want you to write it down. Then I want you to look at those 2 columns and really look at what's the difference, what stands out to me about the patterns that I'm noticing between the situations, people, and experiences that do bring me into alignment versus the ones that don't. What am I noticing? And just notice it. Maybe write down those observations. As you're doing this, also noticing if there's resistance coming up, if there's a limiting belief about, I'm not worthy to be able to do this, or who am I to ask for a better life, or who am I to ask for guidance from the divine, or whatever it is. Notice those 2 and write them down. Get them out of your head so that you're not clouding up your judgment and your thoughts with all of these what if, but, who am I, these limiting beliefs that are going to hold us back. Get them out, get them on the paper. And then looking at those circumstances, looking at those experiences, those people who do feel contracting, who do feel like maybe they're making you feel a little smaller and not as evolved, not as expansive, not as you could be. Maybe making another column next to those and saying, what would it take for those to feel better? Or if I could be doing, connecting with, being anything else other than these situations, circumstances, and people, what would it be? Knowing that those what ifs might not be literal. For example, mine is almost always being in like a Beauty and the Beast style library with the like 30-foot high ceilings and the huge windows, and there's like birds flying around. I know that that's not actually what I want in my life. I do not want to be sitting in a library for a lifetime, but it's the feeling there that's important. And so as you're doing this exercise, noticing that those circumstances that you're pulling up, those ideas that you're having of what would I be doing instead, notice if they're literal or if they're metaphorical. Notice if those are the circumstances that are coming up, because that's an actual tangible goal that you can set for yourself. Of maybe it's creating a space in your house where you have a separate office and you have a space to go. That might be literal. Or if it's a magical library with birds flying around everywhere, maybe that one's not literal. Maybe it's more about the feeling that you have there, that freedom, that quiet, that sense of peace. So noticing as you're doing this, what category are these falling into? And then synthesizing all of this information that you've just gathered, all of this data on what is aligned in your life and what's not, all of the limiting beliefs that are keeping you held in the structure of those things that aren't serving you. And then noticing what you would be doing instead and asking yourself, what little baby steps can I take to align my life, even in the tiniest, smallest way, to those ideas, to those dreams, to those visions? What's something I can do today, right now, to make that happen? For example, right now, I've mentioned before that I'm taking care of a house full of children and animals after my mom broke her arm. And I absolutely adore their guest bedroom, but there is no chair. There's a bed and there's this little desk stool. And I was recently in a car accident and my back has been really painful. And so there's nowhere for me to sit in this room without being in pain. And so my action step for today is I'm going to find a chair, because in that vision of being in the library with the birds and the quiet, I'm sitting in a comfy chair, able to do my work, able to read, and I don't have that right now. So that's my go-to today, is finding a chair. It's not going to bring me fully into that library with the magical birds, but it's going to bring me a little bit closer to that energy that my soul is calling out for today. So it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be life-changing. It just has to be a step. That's it.
And we can't have the conversation about manifestation without talking about gratitude. So how we create those little tiny moments, like, okay, Izzy's got the beautiful library, but she finds peace in her cup of coffee in the morning, and she takes 5 minutes just to be centered and grateful for that moment of peace with her cup of coffee in the morning. That honoring of the smaller version experience and being grateful for it, letting your whole body feel the gratitude for that moment, is how we create and manifest more smaller moments that then increase and build up until we have it all the time. So yes, we can everything in our life, we can say, for any decision, does this bring me toward or away from my goals, and make those action steps. But along the way, when we do say, yes, this will make it closer, I will get closer, I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer. How can we have immense gratitude for the baby steps along the way and the big steps along the way? So we really need, because gratitude is the energetic signature of manifestation, to be in that state of like, yeah, I want a whole new wardrobe, but I can be grateful for this sweater that I have on because it provides warmth. Like, it doesn't even matter how small of gratitude you can feel into it, but it is definitely on my top of list of like manifesting actions to get in that state of gratitude. And Reiki principle, just for today, I will be grateful for my many blessings.
Yes. And if you're in a space where that gratitude often comes with a subtitle of because others have less or others have it worse, notice if you can shift that thought of gratitude into one of appreciation. Can you appreciate that sweater? Oftentimes, if we have experiences in the past that, like, there are children in China who would like your food, then you become grateful for the food because you have it and others don't. And so we want to make sure that there's not that undertone of negativity there. And so if you're feeling that pull, noticing, can we switch that gratitude into appreciation? It's going to carry that same energy, but it's going to allow us to be in a state of peace and expansion and connection with the universe, rather than a state of neglect and lack, etc. And so thinking about, can we appreciate my cat because he keeps me company? Can we appreciate this sweater because it keeps us warm? Can we appreciate having the window open for the fresh air? Noticing which one resonates more for you. Again, coming back to that idea that there's not a wrong way to do this. And so if you resonate with gratitude, get out your journal, do your gratitude journaling. I am so thankful for boom, 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 boom. If you resonate more with appreciation, maybe it's just sitting there and looking around the room, looking at your life and thinking how much you appreciate every element of it. It's okay, whichever one resonates for you more. It's just about bringing yourself into that state of openness and recognition for everything that the universe has brought into and is bringing into your life. It's about understanding and acknowledging what you have in the present so that you can open yourself up to what happens next. There's a phrase that I love to use for this, and it's happy, thank you, more please. It's like, in this moment, I am grateful, I am happy, I am content with what I have. And also I can recognize that there's more here. There's more that I can expand into. There's more that I can grow into. There's going to be a next experience, and I'm ready to receive it. And so finding whatever that phrase is for you, maybe it is happy, thank you, more please, or maybe it's something different, but finding that phrase for you that's going to open you up, that's going to put you in that state of awareness and gratitude and acceptance for everything that the universe is bringing you so that you can be open for whatever the next step is.
Yeah. Well, and notice that more please, I can imagine that kind of rubs people the wrong way. More please, I'm not worthy to ask for more, because when we say more please, if you can say that with ease and flow, that's you being open to overflow in your life. I'm an overflow of abundance. I'm an overflow, and the overflow will just gravitate towards you then, and so noticing the resistance there to that phrase, if having more than is sticky or heavy, and get curious about those limiting beliefs and patterns in your life, setting you up for self-sabotage because inherently you don't feel worthy enough to have it all and more. Right. And this can manifest in so many different ways. It can manifest sexually. It can manifest physically. It can I can be healthy and be strong. I can, all of these ways. What are we telling the universe? I'm not worthy to be in overflow. When you say yes, please, then the universe can respond to that, but it can only give you what you're energetically in alignment with. So if you're not in alignment for overflow, you can't receive overflow. And two, I really love this idea of when we give gratitude to the earth. So every time we eat things, every time we appreciate our clothing, every time we receive from the earth and we give gratitude for that, she receives and then manifests it back tenfold in nourishment, in bounty, and all of these things. So it's like the divine universe is the masculine where we receive. It's the offering. The mother takes it and multiplies it. And so we can have gratitude for both, and to remember that there's a beautiful balance in that of saying, if I can just be grateful for what I have, I'm giving that energy and attention to the earth, for Gaia, for Pachamama, however you want to consider her, just feeling into that space as well, because she is excellent about taking all of our stuff, all of our releases, all of our cords, all of our past traumas, and just composting it. So it doesn't matter if we give her our heavy stuff. She's ready for it. She is absolutely ready for it. And then she provides for us, and the divine will offer us the divine inspiration to take the next steps.
And so noticing how at the end of the day, this conversation around goals and manifesting, with as many layers as it has, with as many different facets that we've touched on, it always comes down to curiosity and gratitude. Curiosity for where we're holding ourselves back, curiosity for which structures we're holding on to that no longer serve us, curiosity for what limiting beliefs are keeping us stuck or making us feel unworthy, and then gratitude for that awareness, gratitude for what we already have, gratitude for the visions and ideas and goals that we're given, understanding that we are co-creating with the universe, that we have been invited to this game of ping pong with the universe. And how amazing is that? Can we find that gratitude for the understanding that the divine is witnessing us, that the divine is seeing and acknowledging us and inviting us to play with them, inviting us to co-create with that energy. And can we find that gratitude? And so at the end of the day, it's always, always, always coming back to, can you open yourself up with curiosity? And can you fill yourself up with gratitude? And if you can do that, you are so far into aligning your energy with where you can be, with how expansive you can be, with how true to yourself and to the divine you can be. And so always coming back to that idea of where can I bring in curiosity and where can I bring in that gratitude or appreciation?
Absolutely. Well, I feel like we've covered a lot in less than an hour. So I really invite you to feel into all of the things that are coming up for you while you watch this. What is leaning into, can I get curious about this? Can I give gratitude for the things in my life? And what are my goals? What do I want to manifest? And feel free to reach out. We have a Facebook group called Reiki Cafe Community. Go find us there and share with us. We'd love to hear your stories, your manifestations, your struggles, and everything in between, because we're here to support you. And if you'd like to reach out directly to Izzy or I, if you need a session, if you want to learn more about our programs, reach out to us. We'll jump on a call. We'll tell you about what's going on, what we got going on over here. And because really we're here to support Reiki practitioners, and we're so glad to have you in our community. So thank you so much for taking time out of your mornings or evenings, depending on where you are in the world, and really exploring this topic with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and knowing that we are always open for your questions, for your suggestions. Like we said, this is a multi-layered topic. And so if there's something you want us to dive in deeper on, if there's a side podcast that you want us to record going into one of these topics, let us know and we'll make that happen. We truly are here to support you. And so if you have ideas, if you have suggestions, if you have questions, just let us know. We will put the links to contact us for the community, for a connect call if you want to connect with us. All of those links will be available to you. And we are so looking forward to connecting with you. But for now, thank you so much for, as Christine said, sharing your day, your morning, your night with us. And we will